Today, we are going to question something most people never dare to question. Not history, not science, but the silence between them. Because what you are about to hear is not a theory from the internet and not a myth passed down in stories. It is something you can touch, measure, and walk inside, and yet no one can fully explain it. Before we begin, I want you to do one simple thing. If at any point in this story you feel that strange moment, that pause where your brain says, "This doesn't make sense," I want you to come back and write it in the comments, because those moments matter more than answers. Now imagine this. You are standing on solid ground, but beneath your feet there are kilometers of empty space, tunnels, chambers, entire cities carved into the earth, not by nature alone, and not by anything we fully understand. We have been taught a simple story. Humans started with stone tools, slowly improved, built civilizations, and step by step reached modern technology, a clean, straight line of progress. But what if that line is not straight? What if it is broken, interrupted, lost, and restarted again? Because scattered across this planet are structures that do not fit the timeline. They are too precise for their age, too large for their tools, and too advanced for their explanation. Let's start with something that should not exist. Tunnels with walls so smooth, so uniform, that engineers today compare them not to natural erosion, but to machine-cut surfaces. Surfaces that require consistent pressure, consistent speed, and controlled direction. In modern mining, we use tunnel boring machines, massive rotating cutters that grind through rock with mechanical precision, leaving behind marks that look exactly like the ones found in certain ancient underground systems. But here's the problem. Those tunnels are believed to be thousands of years old, built at a time when, according to official history, such machines did not exist. So either the marks are lying or our understanding of history is incomplete. Now let's go deeper, not metaphorically, physically. In central Turkey, beneath an ordinary village, a man once knocked down a wall in his basement, and behind it he found a corridor that led to another corridor and another until it opened into a city beneath the earth. A city that descends 18 levels down, deeper than a 20-story building, but inverted into darkness. This place is known as Derinkuyu, and it was not just a hiding place, it was a fully functional underground world. There were living quarters, kitchens, storage rooms, wells, schools, even ventilation shafts designed to deliver fresh air to tens of thousands of people simultaneously. Think about that for a second. Ventilation for 50,000 people underground thousands of years ago. Modern engineers spend years designing airflow systems for buildings, using simulations, data, and advanced calculations, yet somehow this ancient structure achieved it with nothing but stone and planning. Who designed it? Who calculated the airflow? Who coordinated the construction of something this complex without modern tools, without blueprints as we know them, without any record of its creation? Because here's where the mystery becomes uncomfortable. There is no clear documentation of who built it. History tells us who used it, but not who created it. And that is a very important difference. Now pause for a moment, because this is where most people make a mistake. They rush to explain everything immediately. They rush to label it as just ancient people working hard. But effort alone does not explain precision, and time alone does not explain design. Engineers who have studied these structures often say the same thing. This is not random digging. This is controlled architecture, and architecture requires intention. Now, let's move across the planet into the dense jungles of South America, where explorers once claimed to have found something even more disturbing, a network of underground tunnels stretching for kilometers beneath Ecuador. Some reports described walls that were not rough and uneven like natural caves, but flat, angular, almost geometric, as if they were shaped, not eroded. The local tribes spoke of these tunnels as something ancient, something not made by them, something that had always been there. Of course, science responded the way it always does, cautiously, skeptically, calling them natural formations, carved by water over millions of years. And that's a valid explanation, until you start noticing patterns that water doesn't create easily. Long, straight corridors, flat ceilings, repeated grooves on the walls, evenly spaced, consistent in depth, like the marks left behind by a tool moving at constant speed. Again, we face the same contradiction. Nature can create wonders, but it rarely creates precision. And when precision appears, engineers start asking questions that geology alone cannot answer. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. If even one of these structures was an exception, we could ignore it. We could call it coincidence or misinterpretation. But what happens when similar patterns appear on different continents, in different cultures, separated by thousands of years, with no known connection? Turkey, Ecuador, and we're just getting started. Because the deeper we go, the more the pattern begins to repeat. Scale, precision, and silence. Silence in the historical record, silence in explanation, and sometimes silence from the very people who studied them. There was an expedition once led by scientists, engineers, researchers, even involving a man who had walked on the surface of the moon. Think about that, someone who had seen another world, yet after exploring caves on Earth, he described the experience as one of the most profound of his life, and then said almost nothing else about it. No detailed explanation, no clear conclusion, just silence. And sometimes, silence is louder than any answer. Now, here's where things start to shift, because up to this point, we have been asking how. How were these structures built? What tools were used? What techniques were involved? But there's another question, a deeper one, a more unsettling one. Why? Why build cities underground instead of above? Why go 18 levels deep when 2 or 3 would be enough to hide? Why create ventilation systems capable of supporting tens of thousands of people? Why connect distant underground locations with long tunnels that require enormous effort to construct? These are not small decisions. These are choices made with purpose, and purpose implies a pressure, something that made going underground not just an option, but a necessity. And this is the moment where the story stops being just about history and starts becoming something else, something that touches fear, survival, and the unknown. Because if people in the past invested this much effort into going beneath the surface, then maybe the real question is not what they were building, but what they were trying to escape. Hold on to that thought, because in the next part, we are going to push this even further, into places where the scale becomes almost impossible to ignore, where entire chambers the size of skyscrapers are carved out of solid rock, where millions of tons of stone simply disappear. And when that happens, the question will no longer be, is this strange? The question will be, how much of our history is missing? If you've made it this far, don't just watch silently. Write one word in the comments: deeper. Because the deeper we go, the harder it becomes to come back.
Now we go deeper, not just underground, but deeper into the part of the story where explanations start to break apart. Because what you have heard so far could still be dismissed. Unusual, yes, but maybe not impossible. But what comes next, this is where even the most confident explanations begin to hesitate. Let's move to China, 1992. A quiet village, nothing extraordinary, until one decision changed everything. A farmer decided to drain a pond near his land. Just a simple act, something people do every day. But when the water disappeared, what was revealed underneath was not soil, not stone, but an entrance to something massive. What they found below is now known as the Longyou Caves, 24 enormous chambers carved entirely into solid rock. Not small rooms, not simple tunnels, but vast halls stretching tens of meters in every direction, ceilings rising as high as a 10-story building, supported by pillars that were not placed there, but left behind, precisely carved from the same rock. Think about that level of planning. They didn't just dig randomly. They knew exactly where to remove stone and where to leave support, long before modern structural engineering existed. But here is where the numbers become disturbing. The estimated volume of rock removed from these chambers is around 1 million cubic meters. Pause for a moment and really understand that number. That is enough stone to fill roughly 400 Olympic swimming pools. 400. Now ask yourself the simplest question: where did it all go? Because when humans dig, they leave evidence: piles of debris, broken stone, dust, traces of effort. But here, there is nothing. No massive waste piles, no nearby hills made of discarded rock, no record of transportation. It's as if the stone was not removed, but erased. And that is not a small problem. That is a fundamental contradiction. Now look closer at the walls. Every surface inside these chambers is covered with parallel grooves, evenly spaced, identical in depth and angle, repeating across walls, ceilings, columns, everywhere. These are not random marks, they are patterns, and patterns require control. Modern engineers have studied similar marks in mining operations, and they come to one conclusion again and again. These look like the result of a mechanical cutting process, something moving with constant speed, constant pressure over large surfaces. But again, history says that no such technology existed at the time these caves were created. So now the contradiction grows stronger. We are no longer dealing with one anomaly, but with a repeating pattern across different continents. Precision, scale, and missing evidence. Now let's shift again to Europe, to Bosnia, where another strange discovery challenged everything we thought we understood. Beneath a series of hills, tunnels were found. Not natural caves, not typical mines, but something different. The Ravne tunnel system. Straight corridors, consistent height, clean walls, no signs of traditional mining tools like pickaxes or chisels, no side chambers for resource extraction, which raises a simple but powerful question. If these tunnels were not for mining, then what were they for? Because digging into the earth is one of the most energy-intensive things humans can do. You don't remove thousands of tons of material without a purpose. And yet, the purpose here is unclear. Even more strange, independent measurements inside these tunnels detected unusually high levels of negative ions in the air, significantly higher than on the surface. Now, science does have explanations for ionization, but not in this context, not in a closed underground environment with limited airflow. So again, something doesn't fit. And then comes the most controversial part. Some organic materials found within the tunnels were dated over 30,000 years old. 30,000! Now be careful here, because critics will say, correctly, that carbon dating measures the age of organic material, not the tunnel itself, and that is true. But when multiple samples from different areas point to similar time frames, the word coincidence starts to feel stretched. Because 30,000 years ago, according to mainstream history, humans were hunter-gatherers, surviving, not engineering structured underground systems. So now we have another contradiction, not just technological, but chronological. Time itself does not match the structures we are seeing. And this is where things start to feel uncomfortable. Because one contradiction can be ignored, two can be debated, but when patterns repeat across multiple locations, across different cultures, across different time periods, it forces a different kind of question. Not what is this, but what are we missing? Because maybe the issue is not that these structures are impossible. Maybe the issue is that our model of history is incomplete. Now, let's step back for a second and look at all of this together. Underground cities capable of supporting tens of thousands of people, tunnels with walls that resemble machine-cut surfaces, massive chambers with millions of tons of missing rock, and almost no clear historical records explaining their construction. Each one individually can be explained, or at least debated, but together they form something else, a pattern. And patterns are dangerous because they suggest intention. Now, I want you to imagine something, not as a claim, but as a possibility. What if the history we know is not the full story? What if there were phases of human development, or even entire civilizations that reached levels of engineering we don't associate with their time, and then disappeared? Not destroyed completely, but erased just enough, leaving behind fragments, structures without context, evidence without explanation. Because here's the reality: history is not a perfect record, it is what survived. And survival is selective. Wars erase knowledge, disasters destroy records, time buries everything, and what remains is not always the full truth, but just the pieces that made it through. So when we find something that doesn't fit, we have two choices. We can force it into the existing model, or we can question the model itself. And most of the time, we choose the easier path. We ignore the contradiction. We move on. But you didn't move on. You're still here. And that means something, because the deeper we go, the harder it becomes to accept simple answers. And in the next part, we are going to connect all of this, not just as separate mysteries, but as a single question that has been waiting silently beneath our feet this entire time. A question that may not have an answer, but demands one anyway. So before we continue, I want you to do something simple. Write in the comments, who built this? Because once you ask that question seriously, you can't unsee what comes next.
Now we stop looking at these places as separate mysteries, and we start seeing them for what they might actually be. Because up until now, we've been traveling. Turkey, Ecuador, Bosnia, China, different continents, different cultures, different timelines. But what if they are not different at all? What if they are fragments of the same forgotten system? Think about it. Every location we explored shares the same 4 signatures: massive underground scale, precision that suggests controlled engineering, missing material that should exist, and complete silence in written history. That is not random. That is a pattern. And patterns don't appear by accident. They appear by design. Now here is where things become uncomfortable, because if this is a pattern, then someone or something was repeating the same process across the planet, not in one region, not in one civilization, but globally. And that raises a question most people avoid asking. Were ancient civilizations more connected than we think, or are we looking at the traces of something that existed before them? Because here's a fact that often gets ignored. Modern civilization is not as stable as we like to believe. All it takes is one global collapse, war, climate shift, natural disaster, and within a few generations, most of what we built disappears. Records vanish, technology is lost, knowledge becomes myth. Now imagine that, not once, but multiple times over tens of thousands of years. Would anything survive? Yes, not books, not data, not explanations, but structures, stone, tunnels, things buried underground, things like the ones we are finding today. And suddenly, these places don't look like anomalies anymore. They look like survivors, survivors of something we don't remember. Now let's go even deeper into this idea. Engineers who analyze these structures don't just look at size, they look at intention. And intention is revealed through design. Derinkuyu wasn't just dug randomly, it was optimized for survival. Ventilation, water protection, sealed entrances. That is not exploration, that is preparation. The Longyou Caves, perfect symmetry, controlled cuts, no connection between chambers. That is not shelter, that is something else entirely. The Ecuador tunnels, long, straight, extending beyond explored limits. That is not natural wandering, that is direction. And the Bosnian tunnels, clean pathways with no mining purpose. That is not resource extraction, that is movement. Now combine all of that, survival, precision, direction, scale. It starts to look less like random construction and more like a system we don't understand. And this is the moment where the story shifts again, because now we are no longer asking who built each structure. We are asking, were they all part of the same plan? Now pause, because if the answer to that question is even maybe, then everything changes. Because that would mean at some point in the past, there was either a level of coordination or a level of knowledge that we are not aware of today. And here's the part that most people don't like to think about. If something like that existed, what else existed with it? Because you don't build underground systems like this unless you have a reason to go underground. And that reason is never small. It's never temporary. It's something big enough to justify moving entire populations beneath the surface.
And this is where theories begin. Some say it was climate, extreme conditions forcing people below ground. Some say it was war, a threat from above that made the surface unsafe. Some go further and suggest something we still don't understand. But here's the truth. We don't have the answer. And that's exactly why this story matters. Because for the first time, we're not dealing with one mystery. We're dealing with a connected problem. Multiple locations, same anomalies, same silence. And the deeper we look, the more it feels like we are not discovering something new. We are rediscovering something lost. Now here is the final thought I want to leave you with before the last part. What if these structures are not the question? What if they are the answer, and we just don't understand the question yet? In the final part, we are going to stop looking outward and start looking at ourselves, because the biggest mystery in this entire story is not what's under the ground, it's why we are not supposed to notice it. If you're still here, type one word in the comments, pattern, because once you see the pattern, you can't go back.
We have walked through 4 continents. We have seen tunnels that shouldn't exist, cities carved under mountains, stone removed in impossible quantities, and silence, absolute silence in history books. But now comes the final descent, because the real mystery was never the tunnels, it was the pattern. Every site we studied had the same fingerprint. Massive excavation with no debris, perfect geometric engineering, no written records, no confirmed civilization match, and tools that should not exist in their era. At first, we thought it was coincidence, but coincidence does not repeat itself across oceans. Some researchers began asking a forbidden question. What if these are not separate mysteries? What if they are pieces of a single global system? A system that existed before recorded history or outside of it? In 2018, a small team re-examined ground scans beneath Derinkuyu in Turkey. They found something unexpected, a deep resonance pattern, not natural, not geological, structured, like a signal. Meanwhile, in China, reanalysis of the Longyou Caves revealed something even stranger. The grooves on the walls were not random mechanical marks. They followed a repeating interval, almost like calibration lines, like something was tuning the rock. And in Bosnia, air ionization levels inside Ravne tunnels showed rhythmic fluctuations, not constant, pulsing, like breathing. 3 continents, 3 underground systems, 3 unexplained patterns, 1 terrifying possibility. These structures were not just built, they were synchronized. But synchronized with what? Earthquakes? Water flow? Magnetic fields? No explanation fits completely. And that is where science stops and speculation begins. Some engineers proposed a radical idea. What if these tunnels were not cities or hiding places at all? What if they were part of a planetary-scale infrastructure, not for humans alone, but for something that required controlled underground environments? This is where official history refuses to continue, because if you accept even a fraction of this idea, then everything we know about ancient civilization becomes incomplete. But let's return to what we know for sure. We know the tunnels exist, the carving is real, the scale is impossible for known ancient tools, and no culture fully claims them. That alone is enough to disturb history. Now comes the emotional truth. If humans built these structures, then we are not the first advanced civilization. If we didn't, then we are missing something fundamental about our past. Either way, the story we were taught is incomplete. And maybe that is the real purpose of these underground worlds. Not answers, but questions that survive time. Before we end, there is one final observation. Every major underground system shares something subtle, a sense of abandonment,
Not destruction, not collapse, just silence. As if something was once active there and then stopped, suddenly, without explanation. So we arrive at the final question. Not who built it, but something deeper. Why did they stop? Maybe the builders left. Maybe they disappeared. Maybe they changed. Or maybe they are still here, just not on the surface. We end where we began, under the ground, under history, under certainty. And now I ask you one thing, not as a viewer, but as a witness. If you stood at the entrance of one of these tunnels, would you go inside or would you walk away? Because deep down, you already feel something is still there. If this story made you question what you thought you knew, write your answer in the comments, not because of the channel, but because history only survives when people keep asking questions. If you want more stories that explore the hidden side of history, science, and forgotten worlds, subscribe, because the next descent may go even deeper than this one.